All right. It is Wednesday, my dudes. You're watching The Sweat presented by DraftKings alongside Jesse Cofield. I'm Emerson Latzia. As for what's coming up in today's episode, we got a healthy edition of NFL Over-Under. We're going to look at some beefy game totals there for the divisional round. NHL best bets. How about some PGA Tour price check? Len Hochberg's back. Jeff Ulrich will be here for that. Plus the Gojo gang is here with which underdogs they are backing on the divisional round weekend. I'm sure it will be the Jaguars.
But first, we have a 7-game NBA slate on tap for this evening. Let's grab some bets from these three gentlemen here. DraftKings contributors Jeff Pratt, Gary Thorne, and RotoWire's Nick Whalen. So, who's your favorite team that you like to cover this evening, Garion?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Grizzlies. Generally speaking, I'll just take the Grizzlies or the Nuggets if they're playing at home. It tends to work out pretty well. You could also take the Nuggets, but I prefer the Grizzlies tonight. -7.5 against the Cavaliers. We know the Cavaliers more than likely not going to have Donovan Mitchell for this game. He's doubtful for this contest. But again, this is mostly about how good the Grizzlies have been at home. They are 19-3 this season playing in Memphis. They've outscored opponents by 11.5 points per 100 possessions. That's easily the best mark for any home team in the NBA this season. The Cavaliers have also struggled to cover on the road. They are 3-12-2 ATS their last 17 games away from Cleveland. So you've got a really bad road team against a really good home team, and the bad road team is missing their best player. I'll just take the really good home team.
All right, what do you think, Whalen? Where are you going for your favorite team that you like to cover?
Yeah, that was one of the games I have down as well. Memphis 29-8 straight up this season as a favorite. They've just kind of taken care of business spots, and no Donovan Mitchell. I think is a huge piece for Cleveland. I also kind of like the Oklahoma City Thunder, guys. -4 tonight at home against the Indiana Pacers, who of course will not have their best player in Tyrese Halliburton. OKC 5-3 ATS this season as a home favorite. Don't have a ton of sample there, but still encouraging. 14-8 ATS at home. And I still think we're kind of stuck in this narrative of thinking of OKC as this tanking team, and at some point they're going to flip the switch. I don't know if that's going to happen, guys. I think they might be too far gone when it comes to finding their way into the bottom three in the Wembanyama sweepstakes. I don't know if this is a team that can quote-unquote go for it, but I don't think they want to back their way out of this. I think they want to keep winning games. They're in net rating over the last 10 games. Obviously, Indiana going to struggle without Tyrese Halliburton. They are 0-3 since he went down straight up. The last two have been blowouts. So I think this is a great spot for the Thunder to keep it rolling.
All right, Jeff, who do you think is going to roll and cover tonight?
Yeah, I think by the time this segment's over, we're all just going to have talked about the same teams here because the Thunder and the Grizzlies were my two picks for this one. I'll just lean towards Memphis here. You know, they're the hottest team in the NBA right now, as Garion said. And honestly, it feels like not enough people are talking about it. They've won 10 straight. It's bumped them all the way up to the number 2 seed in the West. Yet for some reason, people are so focused on other teams in that conference. All the hype is around Jokic in Denver or Luka in Dallas. But I think we can all agree that the Grizzlies could absolutely be making a trip to the finals this year, especially considering how weak the West is. The Cavs have been somewhat inconsistent lately. They're 6-4 over their last 10. They're not great on the road, as Gary said earlier. Memphis has won the last 3 times these teams have faced off. I wouldn't be surprised to see a double-digit Grizzlies win tonight.
All right, Whalen, my Duval brother, which game total are you feeling tonight?
There's a couple that I like. I like the under in Miami, New Orleans. Total's pretty low, 219.5, but Pelicans bottom 10 league right now in offensive rating. The Heat are 29th in pace. That's about par for the course for this Miami team. They have their usual array of injury situations tonight. Pelicans obviously still without Zion, Ingram, and it doesn't sound like Herb Jones is going to be available for them. Miami's gone under this number in 5 last 8 games, had a couple close calls in as well. So that's one. And then the other one is it just feels like kind of a default over on 237, which again is a huge number for Charlotte, Houston. These are 2 of the 3 or 4 worst defensive teams in the league. They're both bad on offense as well, so something has to give here. But it just feels like we're going to get a really sloppy game that probably we see more points than we ultimately. So The number's a little bit higher than I was hoping it would be, but Charlotte-Houston is just an auto over for me.
All right, Pratt, you like a total to go over here on this 9-game slate?
I do, and I'm going against what I've been saying for weeks now, which is targeting ridiculously high game totals and taking the under. But it's reached a point where no game total is ridiculously high when the Sacramento Kings are involved. This team is just scoring at a rate I have never seen. They've racked up 132 plus in 5 straight games. They're leading the NBA in points per contest at 120. Their game total against the Lakers tonight is 245. And for once, I feel confident saying that's probably too low. These teams played 11 days ago and combined for 270 points without overtime. So I have to roll with the over here.
All right, Gear Bear, which one do you want? Which total in the DK Sportsbook?
Yeah, I'm also going to take an over for a total that's pretty high. We already talked a little bit about this Thunder Pacers game. The total is set at 239.5. I think this one also hits the over. I mean, OKC is kind of doing their best Sacramento impression as of late. In the month of January, they are 7-1 to the over, and the reason for that is they're scoring 121.9 points per 100 possessions. It's the 3rd best offensive rating in the NBA. Both the Pacers and the Thunder sit top 10 in pace in the month of January as well. The Pacers are 8-3 to the over in their last 11 games because they score a ton of points and don't play a lot of defense. They're undersized, as we've talked about many times before. I just think this number gets there. I would say that I probably prefer just taking the Thunder and the points, as we talked about in the previous question, but I think betting the over in this game is another way to attack it.
All right, how about an underdog that you like on the board this evening, Jeff? What do we think?
I don't necessarily love them, but I think it's worth taking a look at the Rockets tonight. You know, these are the 2 worst teams in basketball, so I'm not sure anyone's going to be watching this game. In fact, I have a hard time imagining Hornets and Rockets fans even sitting through this disaster of a matchup. But that being said, it could be a fun disaster of a matchup. And I mean, it'll at least be somewhat exciting to watch. You know, there are some really talented young players between these 2 teams. Despite losing 11 straight games, I think you can make an argument that Houston is playing better basketball than Charlotte right now. They've managed to keep a couple of games close against really good opponents. They barely lost to the Mavericks twice. They almost beat the Timberwolves. So there are some positives that you can take away from those losses. In reality, anything can happen when 2 teams who are equally awful face off. So I wouldn't be shocked whatsoever to see Houston pull this one out.
All right, Garion, what do you think?
Yeah, sort of like Jeff, I'm plugging my nose when I say this, but Wizards +6. I mean, at this point, you can kind of just blindly take the points against the Knicks at home. They're bad for the season as a whole, covering the spread in New York. They're 2-6 ATS, their last 8 home games overall. And again, this is in a very good stretch of New York Knicks basketball. They are playing better the last 2 months than they've played maybe the last decade. And still, they never cover at the Garden. And it's not like they're getting beat by Goliaths either. Like, a couple of these spread losses have been like Chicago. You've got San Antonio in there. They've lost the Raptors twice at home in the last month. Like, they tend to just lay eggs against bad teams in the Garden. So Bradley Beal's questionable. He might come back tonight. That would obviously help the Wizards a little bit in that capacity. But yeah, the Knicks are the better team, no question about it. But I might just take the 6 points with the Wizards, considering the track record the Knicks have at covering in the Garden.
All right, Nick, which dog do you like on the board tonight?
Yeah, there aren't a ton of options. A lot of the underdogs, especially in the early part of the window, are underdogs because they're missing guys. You know, I'm not going to take the Cavs without Mitchell. I'm not going to take the Pacers without Halliburton. Obviously, we know about the injuries in New Orleans. So to me, it comes down to two games. It's either the Lakers as 4.5-point dog against Sacramento, or like Jeff said, it's the Rockets as 2-point dogs against Charlotte. I could lean either way. You know, the Lakers did just beat Sacramento straight up a couple of weeks ago. I mean, LeBron's averaging like 35 a game over his last 15. So, you know, as long as he plays in this game, he is questionable as of right now. The Lakers are at least going to have a chance. But I think if I had to choose between the two, Rockets. I mean, this is just a complete toss-up game. I mean, the Rockets haven't won since December 26th, but as Jeff alluded to, I mean, they've had some moments where they've looked like a better team than Charlotte. I mean, these are the two worst teams by record in the NBA right now. Neither team is overly interested in winning a ton of games the rest of the way. It'd be extremely disorganized. It's going to be. I think this is the NBA version of like that Texans Colts game that we got in Week 18. Like there will be hijinks late in this game. So I think we get a lot of points. And to me, it's a true 50-50. So might as well take Houston with the 2.
Nick, will bring us home with this. Which player prop catches your eye tonight for this 9-game slate on the DK Sportsbook?
I like Desmond over 19.5 points against the Cleveland Cavaliers. He's starting to round into form after coming back from the injury. Had a few bad games early on, but he's starting to look like his old self. So I think that number's a little bit low. I love Domantas Sabonis over 20.5 points against the Lakers, who do not have really anybody to guard him up front. And then I will say, just monitor that Wolves-Nuggets game. Several potential injuries on the Minnesota side that should open up some value on the board later today. So just keep an eye on that in the afternoon.
Mr. Pratt.
Give me Domantas Sabonis over 7.5 assists. I'm not going to go with the points here, but I will go with the assists. This is the part of Sabonis' game that really makes him as great as he is. Plenty of centers can score and grab rebounds at a high level, but only 2 can really pass at an elite level. And the first is obviously Nikola Jokic, who is really in a tier of his own, but I still think it's fair to say Sabonis is an elite playmaker. He's racked up 8+ assists in 6 of his last 7 games. He had 16 just 5 days ago against the Rockets. He should have no problem picking apart this subpar Lakers defense.
All right, Gare Bear, your player prop du jour.
Yeah, I think you could pretty much just blindly choose a points over from that OKC Indiana game we've been talking about a lot. I'm going to take Andrew Nembhard over 9.5 points. He has struggled immensely since Tyrese Halliburton went down. He's shooting 8 for 34 in the 3 games that Halliburton has missed. I don't care so much about the makes, though. I just care about the attempts. The fact that he's got 34 attempts in 3 games, specifically that first game, he was 2 for 16. Not pretty to look at, but again, 16 shot attempts. He's playing a ton of minutes. His usage rate has understandably spiked since Tyrese Halliburton has been out. At some point, a couple of these shots are going to fall. I think it probably happens tonight against OKC. 9.5 is not a huge number to clear when you're playing about 35 minutes a game. So I'll take Nembhard over that points prop.
All right, thank you, NBA dudes. Thank you for making sense of that 9-game slate.
9
Coming
games.
up next on The Sweat, all right? The dudes from the Gojo Show, they are going to join us to talk about the NFL's divisional round weekend. Do they see America's team, Emerson's team, the Jacksonville Jaguars, shocking the world in Kansas City?
Yeah!
Maybe. I don't know.
Of course they do.
We talk about it with Mike and Brandon next.
All right, time to do that thing you like and remind you that the Gojo Show drops every weekday unless Mike is sick. Mike Golick Jr. and Brandon Newman, 2 former Notre Dame teammates talking sports and stuff. Guys being dudes, dudes being guys. Grab the show wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio app, and more. And by more, we mean here on The Sweat every Wednesday. Good morning to you, gentlemen. Mike, how are you feeling this morning?
I'm feeling great. Thank you for checking in, Emerson.
You're very welcome. Brandon, how are you feeling after, you being a Ravens guy, a Lamar guy, just inches away from taking the lead and possibly beating Cincinnati. What changes if Lamar plays that game?
Don't do this. We're not playing the woulda, coulda, shoulda. Don't do that.
That's
Don't
what we
set me up for
do.
that. I am sicker than Mike Golick Jr. traveling from LA to Boston, throwing up on the plane. I am dog sick at the thought of we are losing a 26-year-old franchise quarterback because I don't know the real reason.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want to play. I'm confused. I know I was trying to be all optimistic about Roquan Smith, and I still feel that way about the future of our franchise. But the fact that we are now thinking about what pieces we can get back for Lamar Jackson is insane to me.
So you're not very hopeful the two sides will come to an agreement on a long-term deal, it sounds like.
I think he posted some kind of cryptic Bible verse after that playoff loss. Hold on to what's dear to you, and you have to treat what's important specially. No, I don't think. I think we're a little bit too far gone for both parties to see this reconciled.
I mean, Mike, you're a big Bible guy. Once you start posting verses on your Instagram story here, dude, I don't know. I don't know if this relationship can be repaired.
Well, and you know how big the Bible is. It's a pretty big book. I don't got to school you guys on this one. I'm in a hotel room right now. I think they still put Bibles in these places. So it probably took him a while to find that, which means he's had this one queued in the hip pocket for a while, which maybe means we don't know how bad this has been for how long. No, you know what? All jokes aside, I guess, with this Lamar Jackson, I will be very curious because, again, it bears repeating every time we talk about this. Lamar Jackson is representing himself, which means you're always closer to all the feelings that aren't supposed to be personal, that are just supposed to be business, inside business that is always very much personal when it is the business of your body. And that's the case with Lamar Jackson here. It's why the conversation around his knee injury down this postseason got such a decidedly different tenor to it, especially when you've got guys like Sammy Watkins. I thought speaking out of turn, I think usually speaking on guys' money, especially in a negotiation situation, especially when it involves someone's injury, is usually sort of taboo amongst teammates at this level. And so once you start to see things like that, you do start to wonder what the environment's like in that building and how much that'll affect the upcoming negotiation.
Yeah. And he refuses to hire an agent too,
which
would take that emotional part out of it too, Mike.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Just
We could talk this forever, but let's, for the rest of Wild Card Weekend, let's get back to the business of football here. Mike, what was your biggest takeaway? Should we be concerned about Buffalo here?
Yeah, you know what? I think there is some concern, maybe not as much about the overall product as, all right, the turnovers have become an issue here for Josh Allen. Some of it was red zone turnovers during the year that we talked about, but now it's how much those turnovers really affected the course of that game here. Seeing that team look as rattled as they did going up against the Skylar Thompson-led Miami Dolphins was not what I had on the bingo card. And it wasn't another dynamic monster rushing performance like we saw the last time Miami visited Orchard Park. It was a little bit of everything involved. And certainly, I think seeing the way that Buffalo protected Josh Allen. And for Bills fans, there's been question all years about this offensive line, but 7 sacks, including a strip sack for a touchdown that was a big swing state in this game. Yes, I think that portion of things with the Buffalo Bills could be concerning. It was a very specific defensive game plan for Miami, but we'll see if others are willing to step up and follow that as we head forward in the playoffs.
Braden, I have to ask because Emerson's sitting right next to me. Are the Jags a legitimate AFC contender here, man?
Say it. Be honest.
Say they're not.
Say it.
I hate to say it, but they are.
Yeah!
They are. The Jags are real. They're a very, very real good football team, and they're going to see a very much better football team in the buzzsaw when they get over to Kansas City and the Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium. But let's talk about the Jags because I had a chance to put my Nostradamus hat on and predict that the Jags were going to come back after the Chargers went up 17-0 just because the Chargers are going to charge. But Trevor Lawrence, the history, the lettuce king, the history books are showing right now that he is going to be a legendary quarterback and a state when it's NFL. The fact that he took these lowly Jags from nothing to something all in 1 year, I think it's going to be a great tune-up for the Kansas City Chiefs. But let's not forget who the real Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes still the best quarterback. He's the best player. He's the biggest difference maker on every team. The reason we forget is because he's so good that they get a chance to sit out all these years, always being in the 1 seed spot. But I think it's going to be a great game. But I really don't think the Jaguars have a chance. But I know Emerson's going to get a chance to see it firsthand.
Yeah, I certainly will.
Yeah.
I will definitely be shirtless in the stands. I am looking forward to that on Saturday. Saturday, a day Trevor Lawrence has never lost a football game, no matter what level of football we're talking about. High school, college, now NFL. So if I'm Patrick Mahomes, I see, oh my God, it's 4:30 on Saturday that we're playing Trevor Lawrence. He's probably crapping himself. We did watch 6 mostly outstanding wild card games,
True.
right? So let's get weird, Mike. Which underdog has the best chance of pulling the outright upset this weekend, the divisional round?
I think it'd probably be Cincinnati for me. I think when you look at a team who defensively, I believe, can do some of the things that we've seen bother the Buffalo Bills, and offensively has Joe Burrow and a litany of weapons that are going to work behind an offensive line that was banged up going into the wild card round and got even more banged up with Jonah Williams, I believe, dislocating his kneecap. Their starting left tackle and one of the only, in fact, the only holdover from the offensive line last year as they remade that entirely this year. So it'll be a tall task against the Buffalo Bills defense that, listen, came into this postseason or planned on coming into this postseason with Von Miller's services, and we've seen that has affected their ability to pressure the quarterback. The numbers for the Buffalo Bills since Von Miller departed the lineup have been decidedly worse when it comes to getting after the quarterback. So that might be able to even the scale some for the Cincinnati Bengals, who are a live dog and were the AFC representative in the Super Bowl last year.
All right, Brandon, what about the Cowboys? I guess it all depends on which version of Dak Prescott shows up, but maybe they're able to snap that 11-game win streak here by the 49ers?
I think the upset is over there. The rest of the NFCs playing with the Eagles and the Giants.
Wow.
I love the New York Giants against the Philadelphia Eagles. It's that commonality. I know the Eagles have the roster and the names, but the Giants have the heart, and they always have. They've never won with the names, but after you win the Super Bowl, those names get kind of elevated, like Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau, Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley with the neck roll. It's a whole different game with Saquon Barkley with the neck roll out there. I think that the Eagles are looking at maybe their last game this Sunday.
Yeah.
Woo!
And if Jalen Hurts is limited at all, I think anything is possible this weekend, man. New York's confident as hell right now after what they did against Minnesota.
I mean, if Super Wild Card Weekend taught us anything, it's that, any given Sunday or Saturday, Emerson,
that's
you never
right.
know,
Indeed.
buddy.
This is super divisional round weekend
Keep
now.
that hope alive. All right, in the coaching realm.
Oh, this is great.
After receiving many inquiries, many invitations, a lot of interest, Cliff Kingsbury reportedly bought a one-way ticket to Thailand. We can confirm that his girlfriend's in Thailand.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we can, we assume he's with her.
Yeah, you have Instagram. You can confirm
according
it.
to these reports. Sounds like a dream, doesn't it, Brandon? I mean, just he literally was just bye. He's getting paid for 5 years, guaranteed by the Cardinals, too. So this is kind of a two-part question. Where are you buying your one-way ticket to if you're Cliff?
Ooh.
And then how soon, because a football guy's a football guy. Is he a football guy? Can he stay away? How long does this one-way ticket last?
Oh.
Wow, that's a great question. I feel like because he is a football guy, because I don't want to doubt Cliff Kingsbury as a football guy. He is handsome, but he's not so handsome that he's not a football guy. I think you got to go to Europe where they're going to start the new NFL divisions that are going to come up soon. I think that one-way ticket to London might work out really well when Roger Goodell needs a little eyes and ears and boots on the ground when they're trying to spread out the division and see where they're going to spread out into in Europe. So I think Europe is a nice play. Me personally, maybe the beaches of Maui, maybe some black sand beach. I don't know if you guys have been out the Hana Loop out there in Maui, but yeah, somewhere like that where I have no cell service. So I don't even know what inquiries are coming in.
Oh, yeah, that's the way to do it.
Oh.
Mike, what do you think? Just no cell service? That's just the way to go?
Oh, it's got to be. That's a huge win for Cliff. And you know what? I the football guy portion of it. I am really interested to see because we've dealt with this now for the last couple of years on the Sean McVay front, where he's flirted with retirement for the last couple of seasons, and we consider all those guys sort of part of the same generation of up and coming, especially offensive-minded coaches with him, LaFleur, all the guys from the Shanahan-McVay tree. You do wonder if this, I'll call them the millennial generation of coaches because they're all our age. have a little bit of a different working relationship with this thing than most. Sean McVay, I mean, the conversation around him wanting to just step away to kind of take a breather in the middle of all this. Guys who understand they're going to have a job on this on the other side because of what they've demonstrated so far. Just saying, yeah, bleep it. I'll go hang out on the beach with my girlfriend. So what? $5.5 million for 5 years to do nothing? That makes them normal. It's a reminder of what an insane brain it takes to be a football coach, because these people, like we saw with Matt Rule, was getting paid a bunch of money to go sit by the Carolina Panthers and said, no, I'll go recruit in college. That's an insane prospect to anyone but a football coach who would understand that. So I applaud Cliff Kingsbury for thinking rationally, and my ticket would be to Japan so that I could sing the song Lost in Japan by Shawn Mendes and actually mean it, because I'd be very lost over there, and but probably have a good time. I don't know if the exchange rate is as beneficial as it apparently is where Cliff is, but I'll give it a shot.
I love that. You just need a theme song for the trip. Love
100%.
that.
Listen, Instagram model girlfriend or not, like 1 week, and he's probably like, all right, I'm back. Somebody hire me. And Cliff has obviously decided to stop and smell the roses. Now it's time for you two to do the same.
Ooh.
Mike Golick Jr., who gets your Gojo Rose of the week?
Ooh, you know what? I got to go, and we had a lot of debate about this on the show. I got to give it up for Sam Hubbard, the Cincinnati Bengals defensive lineman who took a 98-yard fumble return to the house for the Bengals in their win over Brandon's Baltimore Ravens. And I wouldn't do that to Brandon just to hurt him if it were not for the thick six portion of this. The big guy touchdown, which is something near and dear to my heart. I know Sam Hubbard's right on the line. He's like 265. He was a high school safety and lacrosse player, former Notre Dame lax commit, by the way. I'm contractually obligated to mention that. But he huffed and puffed his way all the way down there. He got oxygen on the sideline. He looked beefy doing it. So congratulations to Sam. Thank you for repping for big people everywhere.
Hell yeah, brother. Brandon, let's go. Who gets your Gojo Rose of the week?
You know what?
Uh-oh.
I think I gotta give it to Waffle House.
Yes!
Because of all the slander that they've had to endure over the years. And I'm a guy who am a big Waffle House franchisee. Not yet, but, in the works. I'm going to bring it to California eventually, push Roscoe's out. But anyways, all the slander about fighting and animosity and waitresses and cooks and TikTok recipes, listen, it's a place to celebrate that's open 24 hours where your family and friends can go enjoy each other. My son loves a nice waffle pancake that they serve there. It's a place where community comes. I know New Jersey people have diners. Well, people in the South don't always have diners like New Jersey. So Waffle House is a diner franchise that is there for you whenever you need it. Shouts out to the house.
Who doesn't love a good
Yeah.
waffle?
What's your Waffle House order, Brandon?
Ooh, so I go to the chicken melt.
Okay.
But you gotta put it in person because they won't pull the chicken unless you're there. They don't take phone calls over the phone. So chicken melt. Then I do a blueberry waffle, well done, and then usually do a grit bowl, chicken grit bowl.
Yeah.
It's a new thing they got there. It's
So no waffles.
Chicken grit, egg, cheese eggs, obviously.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mike Golick.
About $25.
All right, yeah, Mike Golick Jr. So Trevor Lawrence's order this past weekend, the Texas bacon cheesesteak with hash browns and a cheese pecan waffle here. Can you grade that order for me?
Cheese and pecan waffle?
So hash browns with cheese and a pecan waffle.
Oh, I was like, bleh.
That's the highest calorie waffle that they offer there, the pecan waffle.
I appreciate him being calorie conscious coming off of that big game there. He earned it. I also appreciate that I think he put in the first reservation in the history of the Waffle House franchise, or at least his wife did at that time. So they treated the Waffle House with the respect that it deserves. And as Brandon pointed out, you should do the same. It's an A+ order from an A+ quarterback with A+ hair, who is probably, again, who knows what happens this weekend, but either way, the future in Jacksonville is brighter than all hell, and Emerson is going to be riding on that magical ride all the way to Kansas City.
The Waffle House, it's there for him with a win, and it'll be there for him with a loss. All right. Good stuff, guys.
Amen.
Appreciate the time. As always, we got to move on to hockey. That's coming up next. got an NHL slate coming your way this evening. 4 games going down. Here to make sense of it, let's bring in a RotoWire duo unlike any other. Paul Bruno, AJ Scholes. Brothers, you are here. We are getting your favorite bet on the DraftKings Sportsbook for these games tonight. Let's start with Pittsburgh at Ottawa. Where are you going?
AJ.
All right,
I was just going
I'll
to
lead
wait
us off
and
here.
let one of you choose, but AJ.
All right, I'll start off with the Pens, of course, my guys. I'm looking at player props in this one because while I want a Penguin win, I'm definitely worried they won't, but I can't bring myself to bet on the Senators. So to that end, you can get Evgeny Malkin to score at plus 200 on the DK Sportsbook. 3 goals in his last 4 games, along with 19 shots on goal. He's easily been Pittsburgh's best player of late. So getting 2-to-1 value on him to score a goal is really solid here. And so I think I'll lean away from taking a result. I'll let Paul go that route.
All right, Paul, are
Well,
you doing that?
Sure I am. I'm taking Pittsburgh on the puck line. That's a very healthy looking payoff over there. And I'm also might want to do a parlay, pick them to win and go for the over 6 total. And that'll be a nice payout. Both teams are leaking goals against of late, and neither one is starting their top goalie tonight. It looks like DeSmith and Forsberg is your matchup.
Paul, let's go Bruins Islanders here. So Boston has won, 2 games in a row after outscoring the Flyers and your Maple Leafs by a 10-3 total score there. What's the move tonight, dude? What's the bet here in this one?
It's more of the same. I don't think the Islanders are playing very well. They're having trouble scoring against anybody, and it's harder to score against Boston than most other teams. So I look for a low-scoring game there, and I'll say that the Bruins are a pick on the puck line as well at plus 150. I just don't like the way the Islanders look right now, and Sorokin might be in for a rough night.
All right, AJ.
Yeah, I'm absolutely with Paul on this one. Looking at puck line and grabbing, I think it's moved to about plus 135 value for the Bruins here. As Paul alluded to, the Islanders have scored a paltry 10 goals in their last 6 games. Meanwhile, Boston, 26 goals in their last 6. This should be a pretty one-sided matchup, so get value where you can out of the Bruins tonight.
All right, guys, Colorado at Calgary. Paul, looking at this one, where are you going?
Well, I see value on Calgary on the puck line at home at plus 190. That's pretty nice payout, but Colorado's playing very well their last 2 games. But if you look at their last 10, they're only 3-6-1. So I have some confidence taking the Flames at home where they have a winning record on the season. And I'll stand in line for that payout. I think it's a healthy one.
AJ, what do you think?
I think Paul's dead wrong on this one. I know the Avs have stumbled, but everything appears to be back to normal. 13 goals in the last 2 games. You can just take the money line and get plus 110. But if you really want to get some value, I'd consider flipping the puck line, looking at the alternate and taking Colorado minus 1.5 goals here. Comes in at plus 230. Tremendous value for the Avs.
All right, boys, here we go. After handing the Golden Knights their first shutout loss of the season, we get the Stars continuing their Western road trip against San Jose tonight. AJ, what's the bet?
This is a very, very bad Sharks team, and they are especially bad at home. They've got just 4 wins in 23 home matchups. If I was a season ticket holder, I'd be asking for my money back because they are just not winning games at home at all. So take the Stars on the puck line here, 165 value. If that's a little unnerving, you could look at the 60-minute line, comes in plus 105 for Dallas. I don't expect this to go to overtime. The Stars will make quick work of the Sharks.
So, Paul, Dallas in the top 10 in scoring here, and the total score in San Jose's last 13 games has been 6 or more. Maybe you're looking at that total?
Absolutely. You're reading my notes on this one, Emerson. I do a parlay on the puck line bet that AJ suggested. So take Dallas to win and go over that puck line of 6, and you'll get a really nice payout, probably better than the 160. I don't have it in front of me right now.
All right, Paul, Tampa Bay facing Vancouver for the 2nd time in a week tonight. What's your bet in this one?
Well, these are teams that are going in opposite directions. Tampa's 8-2 in their last 10. Vancouver 3-7. Tampa's plus 140 on the puck line. Probably should be a little narrower than that. So that's an easy payout. And parlay will Tampa win under 6.5. I think Vancouver's going to have trouble scoring no matter who Tampa puts in net, and I don't think the Flames are going to. I mean, the Canucks are going to give up too much against Tampa either. I think this is going to be like a 3-1, 3-2 game.
AJ, what's the bet in this one?
I'm with Paul on the outcome, but I think we'll see a higher scoring game, and that's because no team has conceded more goals in the month of January than Vancouver at 4.57 per game. You combine that with the Lightning's offensive upside, and they should absolutely rout them. Maybe Vancouver gets one. So I like the over, even though it comes in at minus 130. I'd pair that up with some goal scoring props for the Lightning, including Brandon Hagel. Comes in at plus 215. He's got just as many goals over the last 7 games as Nikita Kucherov, but he brings in much better value.
Gentlemen, thank you kindly. Appreciate it. We still got PGA Tour price check coming up. But first, how about a healthy dose of over-under? We'll look at all the game totals here in this divisional round weekend in the NFL. Jags Chiefs, highest total on the board. Who's taking the over on it coming up? All right, so looking at the divisional round weekend and the matchups we have, like it's going to be almost impossible to top what we saw last year. Remember that all 4 games ending on the last play, they were all decided by a combined total of 15 points here. Let's see where our trio of panelists here are going to go over or under the game totals for the 4 games this weekend. Jeff Ulrich, Pierce Dietrich, Julian Edlow. First things first, Jacksonville at Kansas City. Highest total on the board here, Ulrich, at 53. How brave are you to go over this? Huh?
I'm just going to fade the public here and go under. We've got over 70% of the money, and then a big part of the handle going on the over. This line has also moved from 51.5 up to 53 now. I think if you got it at 51.5, that's probably fine. We're at 53 now. You got to go under. In terms of just performance, the unders are 51, 42, and 1 in playoff games since 2013. So it's hitting at about a 55% rate are the unders here. So you're kind of going against that as well as getting a bad number now that the line is jacked up. So, are these 2 great offensive teams? Yeah, absolutely. I like the coaches on both sides. Will that potentially neutralize each other, though, that these coaches also kind of have been around the block? I could see that happening. Jags defense was a lot better in the second half. Again, you just clean up those turnovers. Maybe this game is just a little bit. Bottom line is we just don't need that much to get under 53. There's a lot of things that can happen. I think the under's the play in this one.
Yeah, Jules, these 2 teams clashed in Week 10, right? Kansas City won that one 27-17. That stayed under the closing total of 51.5. And now this time around, you got the grit and grind of playoff football.
Yeah, 53 is a little too high for me. I'm gonna pass on actually betting the total, but at this point, Jeff laid out a lot of the good points. It's a high number, and we just saw these 2 teams go well under. And to get that Jags game so high scoring last week, we needed all those Jacksonville drives to start with an interception, put the Chargers in perfect position to score, and then the Chargers start slinging it and have that comeback. So the game script was something unlike anything that we could possibly see in this game. I think people want to bet the over with the Chiefs because it's the Chiefs at home in the playoffs. Chiefs are only averaging 25 points per game in home games this year. It's not like they're absolutely lighting it up, and that reflects in their record. They're 7-1 at home, but as a home favorite, they're only 2-4-1 against the spread. So it's a pass for me, but yeah, 53 seems a little too high.
Pierce, that a sweep now for the under here?
Yeah, let's make a sweep. The public likes the over in this. The public likes the over in everything, but this one probably has the lowest amount of sentiment. If you look at the money in terms of going towards the over, this game is not drawing as much attention, but it still is favoring the over. The number is just way too high. I have no problem going against the public and even some of the money here. The defenses, as Jeff alluded to, are halfway decent, if not pretty good. We know the Jags have played better in the second half of the season, and the Chiefs are a much better team at home. On the road, they struggle a little bit, get into shootouts, but at home, they have a top 10 rated defense in terms of limiting points, whereas on the road, they're bottom 10 in limiting points. So I expect the Kansas City defense to play pretty well. And then also with Jacksonville, they can't make those mistakes this week and expect to score points. They're going to be facing a rested Kansas City team in a very tough environment. Maybe you can get away with that against the Chargers at home, but if they're turning the ball over, they're just not going to get points on the board.
Yep.
All right, New York Giants at the Eagles. Point total sitting at 48. Pierce, how do we feel about this one?
So again, talking about where the money is going, last time I checked, 84% of the money is on the over in this game. 73% of the bets are on the over in this game. So clearly, the over seems to be the place to go. And, I can get on board with that. I can understand that the Giants are really gelling. I mean, you've got a first-year coach in Dable working with Daniel Jones, who's been through plenty of offensive coordinators. Barkley has been healthy to close out the second half of the season, and they've been 5-2-1 going over. The offense looks a lot better. I don't think the offense is necessarily good. They don't have the names on the page that are going to get you excited, but they complete possessions with touchdowns when they need to. You look at touchdowns in the red zone, they're in the top 10 in getting touchdowns. And the Eagles are also they're third in the league in terms of putting the ball in the end zone and not settling for field goals. And that's really what you want. If you want to look for an over, we need touchdowns. We need competent coaches. We need teams that execute just enough. I'm going to go with the public here and play the over.
All right, Julian, are you riding with the public? You want to go over 48 points? What do we think?
Yeah, you can talk yourself into both sides of this one. We just saw the Giants once again go well over, and they've been an over team recently. And Philly's been an over team at home all season long. Now, the differences here are that the Giants just played indoors against one of the worst secondaries in football. Now they're going to go outdoors, play a division rival for the third time. That's a much better defense. Philly, what's the health of Jalen Hurts like this time around? But ultimately, I will lean side with Pierce and go over here because the last game we can throw out the window. These two teams didn't really see each other at all at full strength. So let's look back to the only regular season matchup where both teams were playing their guys and trying. 48-22 Philly. We saw a lot of points. I'm not saying we're going to see that again, but getting 48 here does seem low given what we saw in this matchup. I think Hurts is going to be pretty healthy and ready to go, especially off the bye here. So I do think we'll ultimately see points.
All right, Jeff, for what it's worth, each of the Eagles' last 4 postseason games have gone under the total points line.
Yeah, I'm definitely against the guys on this one. This, you could probably talk me into an over with Trevor Lawrence and Patrick Mahomes in the other game. I'm definitely taking the under at 48. Everyone is on the over in this game. I mean, it's over 80%, as Pierce alluded to. That alone scares me off taking the over. But again, we have the underdogs trending just in terms of the last 10 plus years here with a better rate. And then you've got two teams, and this is a divisional playoff game. I mean, yeah, I know Miami and Buffalo went at it last week, but I think there's a much better chance you get just kind of a nervous start from both these teams who both like to run the ball as well. The Giants were 7-8-1 to the over, so not exactly down the stretch they're a little bit better, but they also had some matchups that just pushed them towards the over. Again, playing in a dome last week, I feel like that first matchup where they scored 60 points and also what New York did last week is the reason this number is so high. I really felt this number would be closer to 47, potentially even under. So I really like the under in this one. I think that fading the public is a very good idea with this much money in action coming into the over.
All right, Jules, let's go Cincinnati at Buffalo here. Will arguably be the most emotional game of the weekend. So the total currently in the DK Sportsbook, 48.5. Two exciting offenses. We'd love to see a track meet, a shootout here, but I think we saw plenty of issues pop up for both sides in the wild card round. So would the under make most sense here to you?
Under does make sense here. The problem is we've completely missed the best number of it, coming down from, well into the 50s and now into the high 40s. So if you look at the Bills, they have been more of an over team at home, 6-3 to the over, and their unders have come on the road. They were 1-7 to the over on the road. So overs have been cashing in Buffalo, but I do think with the state of the Cincy offensive line, which they won with last year, I'm not saying they can't win with it again, but it's going to take away from the scoring most likely in this game. And when that happens and you hold the Bengals lower scoring, we've seen the Bengals defense play really well. And I think we'll at least be able to contain Josh Allen and that offense to a degree. I don't see a blowout from either side here. The Bills haven't really been able to pull away as big home favorites in many of these games, and we saw that last week in Miami. That was a higher scoring game. But I agree with the move in this game. I think it's going under. I wouldn't bet it at this point, but up in the 50s, yeah, it would be an under for me.
All right, Jeff, what side of this 48.5-point total do you fall on?
Well, I don't think we've missed anything because this is the game where I'm definitely going over. Look, we saw these two teams put up 10 points in like 5 minutes when they went at it for, the half of the first quarter, the first time they met. And I don't know I don't think anyone's stopping Buffalo at this point. This is a team that scored 32 points or more in all their last 5 games. You look at Cincinnati too. I mean, it's a team who made, Tyler Huntley look pretty good last week. I don't have that much confidence in either of these defenses. I mean, if you can't stop Skylar Thompson from putting up 30-plus points, what are you going to do against Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase next week? I think both of these defenses are extremely ripe to be taken. I think the offenses are the best units on both sides. I'm surprised that this number's come down. It's an opportunity, though, because this is the one where I definitely feel comfortable going over on.
All right, Pierce, be the deciding factor here. Over or under?
I'm going to go under. I'm going to go with Julie. And this game has the biggest discrepancy between the handle and the tickets. Both are on the over, but 57% of the money is on the over, whereas 79% of the tickets are on the over. So I'll gladly fade the public. And I disagree with Jeff. I like the way these defenses are playing. I'm not going to overreact to the Bengals not absolutely destroying or annihilating an AFC North opponent. The defense did exactly what they needed to do. The Bengals defense isn't going to be flashy against the Bills. What they do is they get off the field when they need to. They get a 3-and-out when they need to. They get a key turnover. I mean, you look at their playoff run last year, the Bengals defense wasn't amazing, but when they needed that turnover, they got it. When they needed to force a team to settle for a field goal, they got it. And we need Josh Allen to throw a red zone interception. You probably will get that as well. And the Bengals offense, it continues to be the same high-powered but inconsistent offense with an offensive line that leaves a lot to the imagination. They could put some points on the board, but the play calling's not always there. They don't always execute every single down, and they just don't complete drives the way that you would like to see. That's why they've got a phenomenal kicker, because he's always having to kick field goals because they can't complete drives. So I'll take the under.
All right, guys, real quick on this one. Dallas at San Fran, 46 points, lowest total of the divisional round matchups. Jeff, over or under?
I'm going to take the under. I do think that the Dallas rush defense and pressure is going to just put a cap a little bit on the 49ers. I think the 49ers, I just don't have enough belief that Dak Prescott's going to be able to overcome a really, really good San Francisco defense. So give me the under on this one as well.
Pierce, what do we think?
Public's all over the over. I'm going to go with the under. Dallas is your LA Rams of this year. They're not going to look good, but they're going to get in these winnable games, and they're going to win them and surprise people. And next thing you know, they're going to win the Super Bowl.
Talk to me, Jules.
I'll be as quick as I can. This is the only one I've actually bet. Give me the over. Look at these scores since Brock Purdy's been playing. 33 against Miami, 35 against Tampa, only 21 against Seattle. That was on a short week on the road. 37 against Washington, 37 against Vegas, 38 against Arizona, 41 in the playoffs against Seattle. They're going to score points against Dallas, who is on its 4th straight road game now on a short week. Dak Prescott's going to be able to put up points, and both of these defenses are capable of scoring one as well. Love the over.
Each of the 49ers' last 4 games have gone over.
All right. Love it. Love to hear it. Thanks, Jules. Thanks, Pierce. Jeff, stick around. Need you for some PGA Tour price check here coming up right after this break.
Welcome back to our final block of the show. We have our PGA Tour panel here. We got DraftKings contributor Jeff Ulrich, who stayed with us, and RotoWire senior golf writer Len Hochberg. Fellas, PGA price check
Let's
time.
go.
So which players are worth using in your DFS lineups at the following price ranges for the American Express?
All right, 5 guys priced at 10K or higher. Rahm, Scheffler, Finau, Cantlay, Schauffele. Which one do you need in your lineups, Jeff?
Look, you know, if you want to take down that big money on DraftKings, the big GPPs, you always got to consider ownership. And I just think Scotty Scheffler at 10,500 is kind of going to be the odd man out. People love the course history here with Cantlay, John Rahm coming off a big win, but Scotty Scheffler, his game is right there. All he needs, all that's waiting for Scotty Scheffler to grab another win is for that putter to pop. And, you know, he's coming to a course here, you know, the La Quinta, TPC Stadium. He's played it before. He had one of his best finishes ever, you know, as a rookie here at this event. So it's not that he's unfamiliar. He won in the desert last year. These greens are pretty similar to what you're going to see in Phoenix as well. So, you know, if there's ever a spot where Scheffler's going to come with his game, with his ball striking being exactly where he needs it to be and just feel good on the greens, I think this is definitely a place. I think at 10,500, again, the price is going to keep him lower owned. So let's go for that big play here. Let's go for the low-owned option. I like playing up for Scotty Scheffler in the big fields this week.
Who are you paying up for, Len?
Yeah, unlike last week where I really didn't like any of the $10,000 guys, I think a case can be made for just about any of them this week. You know, Schauffele might be a bit dicey coming off the back injury, but hard to imagine he'd be playing if his doctor told him not to. And if he didn't think he could finish 72 holes. So you might get some low ownership on Schauffele there, just some people staying away there. But Rahm is clearly the best player in the world right now, the best player in the field, the best player, period. 3 of his last 5 tournaments he's won. He's won here. Clearly on a mission to overtake the world ranking point system and get back to #1 in the world. He's $300 more than Scheffler. Jeff makes some good points about Scheffler. Rahm at $300 more will get more ownership, yes, but I think he's the better play.
All right, guys, Siwoo Kim coming off a victory last weekend in Hawaii. He's going to cost you $9,200. We were off the Siwoo Kim caravan, and there he went. Is he primed, though, for another strong performance this week? Is he like a must roster, Len? And if he's not, who's another guy between like that 9.9K range that you're on?
Yeah, it certainly seems like a new Siwoo Kim. He got married in the offseason. He has a new caddy, moved on from Brian Vranish on to Manuel Villegas, Camilo's brother, and really showed some real maturity there. He's now 27 years old, but hard to imagine him winning 2 weeks in a row, even though he's done well at this course and has a victory at this tournament. I'm looking at Tom Kim, who I was not on the caravan last week. Wile, not a good fit for Kim. This week, I think much better. Greens in regulation, not much better than Tom Kim going for the green in regulation. Brian Harman, $9,300, just $100 more than Siwoo. Comes here every year, plays well every year. And down at 8,700, Andrew Putnam. I was a little worried that Putnam's hot streak from the fall might go by the wayside with the long winter break, but no, he was 3rd last week at the Sony.
All right, Jeff, what do we think?
I think that if you're going to go with a South Korean in this range, you can pay down and take KH Lee at 8,300. I mean, this is a player who I think sets up extremely well for this course. Really good at short irons and just good in overall proximity. Hit the ball really well at the Sony last week, gained over 3 strokes on approach. He's been solid for a while in that area. And you look at what he does, you know, with the putter as well. You're going to get a lot of putts between 5 and 20 feet this week just because it's so easy to hit it close. And KH Lee's really good, especially from like 5 to 10 feet. So I think Lee sets up extremely well here. He's only 8,300. You can play the narrative as well. You see your countryman win. You get a little bit of confidence from that. I think KH Lee will definitely be in that regard. And again, I think the best overall value in the board is actually at 9,100 with Cameron Young. Another player who sets up, a little bit better than I think people realize for this course. He played well on a Pete Dye design last year at RBC Heritage. Only 9. He's just too cheap. I mean, Cameron Young is just too cheap. Rookie of the year, a bunch of top finishes, including in majors. I think you play him this week. This guy is he's basically overdue for a win at this point, considering how many top finishes he had last year. So.
All right, Jeff, besides Cam Young, go further down the board for me here quickly. You got another top value play for the American Express.
I really like Justin Lauer this week at 6,800. It's not a name that you're going to be very familiar with or that many people may know unless we're playing DFS in the fall. He had multiple top 10 finishes in the fall, though. He's a bit of a streaky player, but he's a very, very good putter. You know, from 20 feet and in, he's top 10 in strokes gained putting, and his mid to short irons are very solid as well. You know, top 20 in proximity. So again, this is a player who started fast in a couple tournaments over the fall, and I think like as a first round leader bet or as a showdown play makes sense too. But I just like him for value. I mean, it's a player who put up multiple top 10s, made some cuts, and he's only 6,800 this week. I think in this kind of format, easier scoring, very good target.
All right, Lane, quickly, please.
Yeah, I agree with Jeff on KH Lee at 8,300 and right at 8,400, Tom Hoagie. Both of these guys are playing really, really well and seem to be underrepresented, if we can call it that, in the DraftKings prices every week. They both are really good players. Thomas Detry, $7,600, except for Taylor Montgomery, probably the top rookie so far this year. And farther down, Ben Taylor at 7,000, Kevin Yu at 6,900. He was 21st last week at the Sony.
All right, super fast, Len. Who is your favorite DFS play this week in La Quinta?
I think Tom Hoagie is at $8,400. Great greens in regulation guy. Had a bit of a blip last week, maybe TCU related, but he's had a great history here. Second last year, sixth one other year. Can fit into any lineup.
Talk to me, Goose, aka Jeff.
KH Lee, 8,300.
Let's go. All right, that's a show. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow at 11.
Okay.